Hey, this is Matt Wimmer from Brody Precision. In this video, we are going to be looking at Niagara once again in our Niagara Basics series, and specifically taking a look in more depth at licensing in Niagara. You're always going to be dealing with licensing. Every project is going to have a JACE or a supervisor or something along those lines, and you sort of need to know exactly how the licensing works and what actually is said and how to read the licensing file that's in all of your JACEs and even your machine, even though it might be a demo license. So let's jump in to Niagara now. We'll pull up a license and we'll take a look at it. All right, so we've got Niagara open now. First thing that we will take note of is on the splash screen, when you first open up Niagara, you'll see this little licensed to and then a little bit of information. In my case, it's the office demo. This is sort of naming information that's going to come from Niagara Central as a part of your license file. Good thing to know about. I wouldn't use this for anything other than just your general identification of what the license is. We can get in more depth and more easily associatable information for the license if we go into the platform. So just locally here on my machine, I'm going to open up my platform connection and I'm going to go to the license manager. Depending on your brand, you may see multiple licenses in here that will contain different information, but the important thing to keep note of or to know is your host ID. This is the unique identifier that Tritium creates automatically when you install Niagara. If you're using this in a supervisor or a workbench technician sort of situation where you're running it on your machine just to connect the stations and work, the host ID then is also used on JACEs, and it comes from the factory as a part of your SD card. 8000 will not run without the SD card in and being recognized by the JACE. And then in the 9000, there's kind of a weird thing that happens where if the SD card isn't in, you'll get one host ID. And then if you put the SD card in, you'll get a different host ID. And that's the host ID you actually want to use, is the one with the SD card. And the host ID will have an SD in the string of characters here. So in my case, it's a Windows machine that's licensed. So the first section of the host ID will say Win. So on an 8000, you'll see that start with QNX and Titan. Really, your keyword there is Titan. That was the code name for the JACE 8000. And then on a 9000, it'll say Atlas. And then after Atlas, if you're using the SD card, which you should be, and that's how everything is going to be licensed appropriately, it's going to say Atlas-SD for the host ID. So just important tidbits to keep in mind. In this case, we are in a demo license, and it is running on my machine locally. You'll never actually really see anywhere where it says demo in the license, but you know it's a demo license because it has this expiration date. For Vicon and Honeywell, this expiration date will always be March 31st. But for Johnson, for whatever reason, their expiration date is going to be October 31st. So as a part of your agreement with your vendor to purchase Niagara, you have a renewal every year. And as a part of that renewal, you get your demo licenses. So those expire at their given dates, and you'll need to re-import those to get access to the software after they expire. That'll automatically happen when you're using something like Workbench here, but on something like a demo JACE, if the JACE was to reboot after the expiration period, it may or may not actually pull in that updated license file. So you might need to manually go into the license manager and do an import. Click here at the bottom. I already did this actually earlier, which is why everything is here. And if you have internet access for whichever device that you're doing this on, whether it's a JACE or a supervisor or a demo machine in my case, you can import directly from the licensing server and grab that license file. So if I double click on my license file here, like I mentioned before, Vicon, you'll only see a single license file. Johnson, I believe you'll only see a single license file, but with Honeywell, you'll see 2 license files, and they contain different licensing information for different features. So on the Vicon one here, if I double click, we get this little window where I can see everything that's inside of the license, and there's a lot of information here that's going to be really handy for you. So first of which, we can see that this is a tritium device, tritium vendor. The expiration date, as I mentioned, that's going to tell us that it is a demo. If it didn't have an expiration date, this would not be here. That's how you know it's a normal purchase license. They don't expire, but you may or may not have an active SMA on it. We'll get to SMAs in a moment. Host ID. So this is that unique identifier, automatically generated based on SD card or just the hardware that's in your computer. If you move to a different computer and you have a different host ID, you can reach out to us at T-Support, and we can get that moved over for you. Obviously, you have to be a Brody customer in order for us to do that for you, but we can do that. And then the version that we are licensed for, so you can run anything below the version that's in the license here. There are caveats to that, but if you're running just a demo station on your or a demo workbench on your machine, that is the case. We have the generated date when we got the license file, and then there's some additional unreleased software access stuff in here because we do beta work, so that's the beta access is what's controlled there. Then we get into the individual features that are in our license. There's a ton of them in here because this is a demo and we get access to everything. So that's about it for what you can glean from a normal demo license. There are additional pieces of information that you should know about, but they're never going to be the case in a demo license. And these are things, what's known as global capacity. So let's jump into a license now that is not a demo so we can take a further look at that. All right, so I've got a regular old JACE 8000 pulled up here, and it is not a demo, so you can see it does not expire, and you can see it's an 8000 because of that Titan in the host ID. This is also a Honeywell license, so you'll see that there's a whole bunch more license files in here for individual pieces of Honeywell-specific software that runs inside the JACE. But let's start up here at the very top at the Honeywell one. The Honeywell license file is one of the special ones that has only Honeywell specific features enabled in it. Not really anything worth going over here other than to show that it's a thing. Same thing with the CentraLine one. There's a couple things in here, but again, very specific for Honeywell. The Webs one is the equivalent to that license file that we looked at on my local machine. This has the basic Niagara features and information that you would see typically in any other device. So if we take a look again at that very top line, the license, we have our host ID. In this case, it's a JACE, so we also have the serial number, the version that it's licensed at, when that license was generated, our maintenance expiration. So this is our SMA. The SMA allows us to get software updates. As long as our SMA is active, we get access to those software updates. So if you're out on a site and you're running an older version, that SMA is expired, you can't upgrade to the latest version because the SMA is expired. So ideally, you would have an active SMA on all of your jobs that you're working at. There's caveats and things on LTS, and we've got videos on covering that in more detail that you can find on the YouTube channel. So if I go back over here to the beginning, brand, this was a feature that was used more in the past, not really used anymore, but we can see this is a Webs device. Feature information, we can see that this project is our building in Wisconsin. And if I scroll down a bit more, you can see, again, there's all kinds of license features in here. The one that we really want to care about, though, is the global capacity. Because you're purchasing your JACEs and supervisors based on the number of devices that you're going to connect to them, you need to know what your limits are and make sure that's all set up correctly. So global capacity is going to be the place where that's actually defined. So if you scroll down a bit into your license file, find that global capacity feature, and then scroll over. Keep note of the other things that are in this line. So the first thing you'll see is expiration never. You can sort of ignore that because all the pieces will have that as well. Then we have excluded points. So our point count for global capacity is going to exclude all of the points that are coming from these individual pieces. So our Niagara drivers excluded, NRIOs excluded. If we're doing anything with access control, that's excluded. Milestone or any camera-related features excluded. This is also mirrored in the excluded devices portion. Excluded devices, that highlighted the whole thing. And then we get a little bit further and we can see what our limits are. So this has a device limit of 56. So what this actually means is our device limit is 55 because the device itself, the JACE itself, counts as one. Your local device is one of the count. So you'll see that. And then our device limit multiplied by 50 is what we have for our point limit. So we can't exceed a device count of 55 in this case, and we can't exceed a point limit of 2,700 in this case. Again, there's more exclusions that are happening here. And so that is our limit. I'm going to jump out of the license real fast and just show you another piece that you'll want to know about because of that global capacity. I'm going to log into my station, right-click on the station and go to Spy. And then I'm going to go to the metrics piece here. And then here we can see exactly what we're using for the number of points and exactly what we're using for the number of devices. And this is the current count that the station has. An really important thing to know about this global capacity and the way that it's calculated is that it only ratchets up while the station is running. It can't go down. So if you duplicate a network by accident and with that, duplicate a whole bunch of devices and a whole bunch of points, and you go over your limit and you're seeing devices that are failed because you've gone over the limit. The only way that you can get that to reset or go back to where it should be, obviously delete that duplicate network and then restart your station. When you restart your station, it'll pull it back down to what the actual device count is. But while the station is running, you can only ratchet up the number of points that you have and devices that you have in the station. So that is about it on the global capacity side of things. Just keep in mind that you're very likely going to have additional features and things that you're licensing on your JACE that you'll want to know about and want to make sure that you have access to through that license file to make sure that it's actually appropriately licensed. So say you need to use SNMP. You'll want to make sure that your license file has SNMP if things aren't working properly. Also, you'll see in your station, very likely, if you go to add in network or something like that that isn't licensed, it'll yell about it. Also worth noting, certain third-party drivers aren't licensed through the license file. They're licensed through like a key that you'll get from the third-party driver maker, and it'll be licensed that way, so you won't see it at all inside your license file. So hopefully that was helpful and informative for you. If I didn't cover anything specifically license related that you're questioning or you'd like to know more about, you can leave those down in the comments below. And I think what I'd like to do at some point in the future is like a Q&A kind of style video where I just take questions from the comments and we go from there and answer those all. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching as always, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks.